Hello, everyone. This is Igor from Vinous Reverie, the shop for the adventurous wine drinker. I just wanted to do a little live video. I'm going to be joined by Bobby Conroy from Messina, and we're going to be discussing one of the Monterey. So, thank you for joining.
Hey, Igor, how are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So I just started, introduced myself, and I said you'll be joining us. So if you could give us a brief introduction, I think that'll be great.
Yeah, totally. So a little bit about myself. Um, Born and raised in Washington, D.C. My background is really in hospitality and restaurants. I worked in restaurants between the cities of DC, San Francisco, and New York for the last, about 20 years or so. Working for chefs like Corey Lee at Benu Restaurant, Jean George at his flagship here in New York City, Steven Starr and Jason Atherton, and also Plume Restaurant. So a lot of really cool places where I had the opportunity to taste a tremendous amount of spectacular wine. And then in late 2019, I had the opportunity to join Masnoy Imports. They were looking for a domestic portfolio manager. And I applied for the job, and it turned out to be a really good fit and remarkably serendipitous for me. I've been with them for the last year and a half now. So in addition to the domestic portfolio, I actually look after France, Germany, Austria, South America, the Iberian Peninsula, Spain, and Portugal, and then also New Zealand as well. And I'm really excited to be a part of their team, and certainly to be visiting with you today, talking about Joyce. So.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, Vinous Reverie, our shop, we specialize mostly in international wines, but this wine from Monterey just seemed so exciting that I had to bring it in. So let me show the picture. It's Joyce Vineyards. This wine is made in Monterey, and it's a 2018 Pinot Noir. So, Bobby, if you could kind of just give us a little overview about Monterey County, and kind of why Pinot might be such a good fit to grow there.
Yeah, totally. It's kind of interesting because Monterey County has a long, rich history of agriculture and specifically viticulture. As an AVA, it goes back to 1984 when it was first recognized as an American viticulture area. There's 7 different sub-appellations within the county of Monterey. And it's really well suited to the great Pinot Noir and Burgundian varieties in general. I think something like 50% of the appellation is actually planted to Chardonnay. But Pinot Noir does quite well because it's a variety that tends to thrive with a good amount of sunshine, but also cooler temperatures. Sunshine to achieve good, healthy ripeness levels, and cooler temperatures to maintain acidity, freshness, and balance. So you're able to leverage ripe fruit flavors, which are very California, with alcohol levels that aren't exceeding to overbear on the wine. Yeah. So there's a lot of very specific and unique microclimates that are features of Monterey. And, I think that's certainly an important component to the ideology and philosophy of Russell Joyce and Joyce Winery. They have a long, rich history in the area. They actually have a grape growing history going back to the mid-'80s, relatively shortly after the AVA got its start. Russell Joyce's father, Francis, kind of a bit on a whim, as I understand it, planted a few European cuttings. Yeah. And their business kind of got launched as a grape growing business. And they made wines for a long, long time. Russell's background is a little bit more in the traditional agriculture of the area. You think of Salinas and Gilroy, you definitely think of like some of the world's best spinach and garlic, etc. Yeah. Right. but he's always had this real affinity and love of wine. And I think in particular, if you were to ask him, a real love of European wines and wines that are characterized by their freshness, their balance, their refinement and finesse. And so when he took over from his father, let's say a little over 8 years ago, that really became a driving element of the philosophy of their winery. And I think, you know, you've seen that evolution in the wines that they produce, and certainly, you know, in the flavor profile of the Submarine Canyon, which is, you know, for me, one of the absolute best value wines, price to value and quality that you can find in California. Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a favorite. It's something that you drink yourself by yourself too. Is it?
Totally. Yeah. You know, so just to kind of paint the picture a little bit, with my background being as a sommelier and working in restaurants and hospitality, you know, I definitely have a palate that is driven more by European wines in terms of my personal preferences. I tend to like things that are lower alcohol, characterized by their structure, their tannins, their acidity. And, you know, it was a very new role for me when I decided to move it into distribution and to be focused strictly on domestic wines. And in a lot of ways, I was kind of grappling with the idea of what that would really mean and what that would look like, and what were the things personally that I was going to have to sacrifice in terms of pleasure and enjoyment and interest in the wine world. And ironically, right as I was getting started, Joyce was joining Massenoy. Yeah. And so I had basically in the first week the opportunity to taste through his portfolio of wines. And I was just floored. I was stunned. Not only because of my years in San Francisco and having tasted a lot of wines from Monterey County, you know, I had a pretty good reference point for them, but this was just something that I think was totally different from what I was used to from a flavor perspective, and also very pleasing from what I did actually want to drink. And I think you see that across the board with all the wines that he produces. And really, from a winery perspective, it boils down to kind of 3 flagship wines. And they do 2 Submarine Canyon bottlings. One is their Chardonnay, and one is their Pinot Noir. Yeah. And the Pinot Noir is consistently highly rated. You know, 3 vintages in a row now. It's gotten 93 points from Matt Kettman at Wine Enthusiast. Yeah. But when you taste it, it has a distinctly Californian perspective of fruit, which I think obviously is unavoidable, but it's very antithetical to the traditional kind of clunky, alcoholic, oak-driven, overwhelming wines that might have been produced a decade ago. And I think Russell and his winery has gone a long way in having a big influence on you know, shaping the kind of newfound ideology that a lot of winemakers are taking in that region. So it's pretty cool in that regard.
Well, hey, Bobby, so thank you so much. I mean, I think it's a great overview. Let me showcase the wine one more time. Joyce Vineyards, Submarine Canyon, Monterey 2018. And I thought it was, you know, thank you so much for the whole overview, Monterey, Joyce, and the actual Pinot. So thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you next time.
Absolutely. Look forward to doing this again. And thank you for the support of the wines. And I hope everybody that gets the chance to watch this has the opportunity to taste anything that Russell makes. You won't be disappointed, I promise.
Thank you, Bobby. Have a nice day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.